Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're heading into the German underground, late 90s, looking at a band called Lebensreform.
That's right. A really interesting part of the North Core hardcore punk scene.
Yeah, we've got some good background here, their story, the music, who was in the band, what they released.
And it's kind of fascinating, isn't it? They were only really around for like 2 years, 96 to 98.
Right, super short. But then this compilation album, discography, pops up way later, 2012.
Which says a lot about their lasting impact, I think.
Definitely. Let's start with the name, though, Lebensreform. It sounds significant.
It is, yeah. It means life reform. And it actually refers to this pretty big social movement in Germany and Switzerland.
Oh, okay. When was this?
Mid-19th century through to the early 20th. Quite a while back.
Life reform. What were they trying to reform exactly?
Well, it was basically a pushback against industrialization, people wanting a more, natural life, healthy.
Like vegetarianism, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Vegetarianism, nature cures, nudism even, organic farming, physical fitness, rejecting the sort of downsides of modern industrial life.
Okay, so how does that connect to a hardcore punk band from the 90s? Seems like a bit of a jump.
Well, yeah, it's speculative, obviously. We don't have their exact reasoning. But you got to think, choosing that name wasn't accidental.
Right.
Maybe their lyrics touched on similar themes, critiquing society, maybe wanting radical change, or even just individual well-being.
Or maybe it was ironic, contrasting the idea with their, like, super intense sound.
Could be. But that core anti-establishment vibe in hardcore punk, it does kind of resonate with the historical movement's critique of industrial society, doesn't it?
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about that sound. It's described as straight edge, thrash, hardcore, and screamo. Wow.
Yeah, it's a powerful mix. Very high intensity, aggressive.
Break that down a bit for us. What are we hearing there?
Okay, so you've got the raw energy of hardcore, the screamed vocals,
Mm-hmm.
then add the speed and aggression of thrash metal, often quite political lyrics in thrash, too. Then screamo brings this like heightened emotional intensity, more urgent vocals, often higher pitched.
And straight edge, that's the lifestyle thing.
Exactly.
Yep.
No alcohol, no tobacco, no recreational drugs. It's often tied to a specific personal philosophy or ethics within the hardcore scene.
Gotcha. And this all fits into Northcore. What defined that particular scene?
Right. Northcore, that was very much a northern Germany thing. Hamburg, Bremen area.
Okay.
Think intense hardcore, but with maybe more metallic elements, like metalcore riffs or sounds, but keeping that hardcore speed and feeling. And often, yeah, a strong vegan straight edge connection.
Who else was part of that?
Bands like Loxeren, Acme, Sistrel, Mercer, Carol. Lebensreform was right in the thick of it, a really respected name.
They were also called New School XE Core with an Infest-like sound. What's Infest like?
Infest is a huge name in power violence, which means like incredibly short, fast, chaotic songs, just bursts of noise and aggression. So imagine that kind of frantic energy in Lebensreform's music.
Intense. You mentioned they influenced later bands.
Yeah, Orchid, who became quite big in the screamo genre, cited them as an influence. So their reach went beyond just Northcore.
Okay, back to their timeline. 96 to 98. Hamburg. Why so short-lived? Any clues?
The sources don't spell it out, but honestly, it's pretty common in underground hardcore. Bands burn bright and fast.
Right.
Could be anything, really.
Yeah.
People moving on to other bands, creative differences, maybe just the demands of playing music that intense. It takes a toll.
Makes sense. But that 2012 compilation discography really kept their name alive, didn't it?
Absolutely. Made their stuff accessible again, 21 tracks. It kind of solidified their legacy for a whole new audience. You see that sometimes, bands getting more recognition after they're gone.
Let's talk members. Sven Christensen on vocals, Mark Wehrman on guitar.
Uh-huh. Neil Zabele was on bass initially, then Dennis Becker took over in 97.
Dennis Becker. Wasn't he later in the band, Tom Schaff?
That's the one. Yeah, he played guitar for Tom Yancha. Also involved in bands like Chispa, Ollie Schultz, Underhunt Marie. Shows those scene connections.
Right. And Christian Ruck on drums. Any others?
Jan Elbeshausen might have played live bass at some point, too. The lineup seemed a little fluid, especially around the bass position.
Okay. Discography. Pretty concise given the short time frame.
Yeah, a couple 7-inch EPs on Percoro Records, Licht plus Lift plus Leben in 96, Retcher in 97, then some split releases, a 5-inch with Slight Slappers, a 7-inch with Kindle 2, and a couple of cassette releases too, which was standard DIY stuff back then.
Punkin' at Rehearsal Space.
Oh.
Love that title.
Huh, yeah. And Baus track. But really, everything kind of funnels into that 2012 discography album on Audiolith. That's the key release now.
And it's available digitally.
Yep. Apple Music, YouTube streams, the works. Makes it easy to check them out.
Let's circle back to Northcore for a second.
Ah.
That vegan straight edge element seems important.
It really was a defining feature for a lot of those bands. It wasn't universal, maybe, but very common. It created this tight community feel, shared ethics.
And band members playing in multiple Northcore bands.
Exactly, like Dennis Becker being in Lebensreform and also Loxern, for example. Lots of overlap reinforces that sense of a connected scene.
So, summing up Lebensreform's legacy, what's the main takeaway?
I'd say it's their sheer impact despite such a brief existence. They were clearly a core part of Northcore.
Right, that intensity.
Definitely the intensity.
Yes.
The straight edge connection. Influencing bands like Orchid shows they mattered beyond their immediate time and place.
And playing shows outside Germany, like that Vorten Vis gig in Belgium.
Yeah, shows they were tapped into the wider European hardcore network. And someone described their sound as powerful enough to blow a whole Roman legion out of their sandals.
Uh-huh. Okay, that paints a picture.
It really does. Plus, you can actually find a live recording from Hamburg in '97 on the Internet Archive. Gives you a real taste of that live energy.
Okay, so Lebensreform. Short, sharp, intense. A key player in late 90s German Northcore, strong SXE links, and an influence that outlasted their active years.
Definitely worth checking out that discography compilation or the live stuff if you want to hear what the fuss was about.
Absolutely, a real snapshot of a specific time and sound.
And, thinking about them, this intense, short burst of creative energy linked to a name about radical life change. It makes you wonder, doesn't it, what other sort of fleeting cultural moments or artistic flashes have left that kind of lasting echo? Something to maybe think about.